That's one of the best podcasts ever. Ever. Top 5 dead or alive. Welcome to Pod Caviar. I'm your host, Tony, in the Ministry of Silly Talks in an underground bunker that is not affected by pollen, which is invading the state, many states in America, and I hate it, and my car hates it. But anyway, this is not why we're here.
No,
I'm here. Graham is in the building. We got Adam in the building.
Hello.
Great guy. The best bartender I've ever had in my life. Back when I spent many nights in bars.
Yeah, this has been an exciting day of podcasting.
Yeah.
Adam just appeared on an episode of the One Gram Army podcast. If you hear this podcast and don't know about that one, I'm not sure how that happened.
Right.
But Adam was on my podcast, and I've set up a bit of a peanut gallery for everybody because I don't have a setup for 3 people.
Yeah.
But it's been a great day for podcasting. A lot of extra energy in the room.
Yeah. And it's St. Patrick's
Day. Got in here somehow.
Yeah.
So.
Six Balls is in here. But
what are we doing here today, sir?
We are going to continue season 3, episode 2, about the inmates of the ADX Colorado Supermax prison, federal prison. Today we're going to talk about Eric Rudolph, who is
not a red-nosed reindeer.
No, he is definitely not. He is not about to bring joy to anybody. He is the Olympic bomber, the guy who was responsible for the bombing in the Olympic Park when the Olympics came to Atlanta in the 90s. I think it was 96.
96, I believe.
Yeah. I remember that happening, and I remember the night when it happened. Everybody watches the Olympics when it comes on. You know, it's a great deal. It's all the countries send their best athletes to fight against each other, pretty much.
Essentially,
you know? And
it is basically sports war. Which is why it's allowed to be so crooked and corrupt,
right?
Absolutely insane. It's basically like everywhere the Olympics go, they leave behind destruction as long as it's not in the United States.
And if they go to a city that cannot afford or cannot handle that amount, they build up a lot of shit coming before the Olympics, but then afterwards, a lot of those Olympic stadiums and stuff that they build are abandoned. And it happened back in when they went to Brazil.
Oh yeah,
and it's just a lot of these cities can't handle that type of infrastructure after the Olympics leave. So that's something that we need to talk about on another podcast episode, because we can literally go hours talking about how the Olympics will fuck a city.
Oh, yeah.
After they leave.
In the early days of my podcast, back when it was the Sports with a Capital F podcast, as a matter of fact, it was the first year I was doing my podcast, the 2016 Olympics started.
Yeah.
And I had like a whole announcement when we would talk about the Olympics that had the Olympic music, and it was like a robot voice, like the 2016 Olympics in Rio, where the global Zika pandemic begins. And that was how the segment started.
Oh, yeah. But that's a real deal, man.
They were fishing bodies out of the water next to those stadiums. Yeah,
there's plenty
for like
of
months before the Olympics started.
Plenty of stories where Rio had to deal with a lot of shit. It was basically like people lived in squalor and lived in the bad parts of Rio and shit.
Oh, yeah.
They were like, no, the Olympics are coming, so y'all got to get the fuck out of here. I don't know where you're gonna go, but get the fuck out. So it's weird how that happens. How you don't want to take care of the people that are living in the poor conditions, but as soon as the Olympics come, then you care about those people, but you only care enough to get them the fuck out of the way so you can build shit for the Olympics.
Yeah.
All that money that they thought was going to come into the city, it all evaporated. And because of corruption and all this shit, the government, the corrupted officials got a lot of that money, but the city itself it's fucked.
Absolutely. Well, and even in the case of like the Olympics in Atlanta, basically anywhere the Olympics have ever been held within the United States, there's always this promise of a significant amount of money being dumped into improving the city. And I think, if I'm not mistaken, one of you guys may know this, that Atlanta was one of the first cities to look at sustainability for the facilities they were building for the Olympics. And I think that's where Turner Field came from. I believe Turner Field was built for the Olympics and then repurposed as the ballpark for the parades.
So, yeah.
I may be mistaken. I'm not sure.
I don't know for sure.
I don't know
but
when
that
they
does
tore
sound
down.
familiar, yeah.
I don't know when they tore down Fulton County Stadium because I don't really pay attention to baseball teams who haven't won a World Series in quite as long as it's been since the Braves won one. Yeah. See, and that's an interesting statement Adam just made about how the only thing good in Georgia is soccer.
Hey.
Shocking.
Yeah.
Shocking.
That is shocking.
Who would have seen that coming?
That is shocking, yeah. But but Eric Rudolph.
Oh shit.
Yeah, he.
This is gonna be one of these.
I knew that. I remember his name, and I remember the manhunt that happened after the bombing.
Of course.
But I didn't know that he was active between 96 and 98, and that he was responsible for various bombings of different abortion clinics and people who did doctors who did abortions. He was part of a group. Actually, I guess he's technically still part of the group Army of God. Even though he's serving life without parole in ADX, Colorado. But yeah, we have it pulled up right now. And I'm just going to read the first couple sentences of this. The Army of God is a Christian terrorist organization. Yeah, I know. You're not used to hearing Christian terrorist organization.
I can't imagine.
Right, yeah. It seems to be out of people's minds that anybody outside of the Muslim religion can be terrorists. But
Jesus.
Let me tell you.
Tony, come on.
Yeah.
Come on, man.
It's a Christian terrorist organization that engaged in the use of anti-abortion violence in the United States to fight against abortion. They were also anti-gay. These are the two things. The Army of God, the Lamb of God, and he went to something called a Christian Identity Compound. And if you know anything about Christian identity, is that they are anti-Semitic, they are racist, and they are anti-abortion and anti-gay. So that seems to be the pillars of all of these groups that are still active in America to this day.
You know what's interesting is that I feel like, it's unfortunate you don't shoot a video for your podcast because I feel like this picture of the gentleman on the Wikipedia page for the Army of God.
Yeah. I'm going to have to post that.
I feel like he describes the whole thing. Yeah. Look, I mean, he's got his creepy...
He's so proud.
He's super proud. Look at his creepy smile. Yeah. He's holding a flag, first of all, that is hanging on a wooden dowel that hangs, perpendicular to the ground. Oh, yeah. Which is like only okay if you're a Boy Scout. If you're not a Boy Scout and you have a flag like that... Yeah. Probably a Nazi, right? I think we could all agree on that, right? Unless you're part of
no, you don't have good intentions at all.
Unless you're part of some kind of super cool interracial biker gang or something. Probably you live in the woods of Georgia. I'd also like to point out the quality of the sidewalk on which he's standing. I feel like this guy probably lives in like Douglasville or Marietta or somewhere, and he's actually sitting out on the back porch of his property where he lives in like a densely populated neighborhood of McMansions. Yeah. But in this picture, he's like, "Oh, well, there are these woods back here. Yeah, let me make sure that
take a picture.
You know that I'm not cool with like black people or gay people because you can see the woods.
The whole thing. I
just think there's a lot about this picture that basically explains who this guy is.
Yeah, but if you look into these groups and you understand how what they go after and what they're against and their whole beliefs and their vision, you understand how they would recruit people like Eric Rudolph. And there's a whole list of people that have done terroristic things, bombs and they've sniped people, they've shot people in broad daylight.
Yes, it's true. This man has no dick.
Sorry. No, but they're crazy. And there was even a member of the Army of God that that went and they shot a member of a church that was either Catholic or pro-choice. Or they did abortions or something.
Who could possibly keep up with who these people hate?
This is what I'm saying. Like, the more I went down this rabbit hole, the more I was like, damn, this is crazy. Because even in the rabbit hole, I got up out of it, but it ended with the remember after 9/11, there was a lot of letters that were sent to people that had anthrax in it.
Yes,
I went down that rabbit hole.
Okay,
and I researched the guy that the FBI said did it.
All the
he ended up committing suicide, but the information that I saw about him
did he commit suicide
wild.
by taking cyanide?
No, it was fucking no. He had Tylenol that was you know how you get the Tylenol with codeine in it.
Yeah,
he took a handful of those and fucking. That's
so the
how
man's
went.
Sitting in a room full of anthrax.
Yeah,
he's like, I'm gonna kill myself by ingesting something.
Yeah,
how about a bunch of these Tylenol?
Yeah,
fuck that guy.
That whole story went from. It was a wild story because. It went from maybe he didn't do it to he definitely did this shit.
Yeah, he did that shit.
And we're gonna do an episode on this, and it might be a caveat to the ADX Colorado during season 3.
Well, that's where he would be.
It is definitely no, he was definitely going to be there. I think that he did it. The information that I got and the evidence that I saw, the research that I did, he totally did it.
Absolutely.
And I understand why he did it. His beliefs and everything fall into the lines of the Army of God, the Lamb of God, the Christian identity, all these groups that I talked about, that Eric Rudolph was part of. And it was what I said earlier is that back in the 90s, instead of tweeting about people and like doing Facebook posts and all this shit and making hashtags, people made bombs and they made groups that went after these people. Yeah. So, you had pastors and doctors and everything that literally wore body armor because the FBI came to them and was like, look, this group knows what you're doing, even though what you're doing is your choice and you're legally doing abortions or you're legally pro-choice. This group is coming after you and they've targeted you. The Army of God had a list of doctors and clergy that was pro-choice or did abortions. They had it on their website, and every time one of those people got killed, they would update the list and like scratch that person's name off.
Yeah.
So
see, it's interesting too that you mentioned that, and this is something I actually do remember from growing up. Mm-hmm. And like I remember when I was a kid seeing on the news about people bombing abortion clinics. Yeah. And how this was like a political issue. Yeah. That people were taking violent action against. And I was a kid. And I was like, whoa.
Yeah. And they see the Unabomber got fame off of that. Yeah, because a lot of people would link the Unabomber to doing that to abortion clinics, which he did, but he wasn't the only one. Yeah. And you know what? CNN. They did a real good documentary called The 90s when they went through the 60s, 70s, 80s, and 90s.
Generation? Yeah, I saw the 90s.
And then there was like
Rob Lowe narrated.
There's
a fantastic 90s documentary.
It was, but there were bombs going off all over the place. Even at LAX, they even bombed LAX back in the day. A lot of it gets forgotten today because it was normal for us to turn on the news and see that a bomb is going off here, a bomb is going off there, somebody got shot there.
See, think about it like this though. So that's how you, like, that was how we absorbed it when we were younger, because it's like we all have these weird memories of like the bombing of the USS Cole, the stretch of these bombings against abortion doctors, these horrendous acts of mass violence that really, if you think back about it, was presented to you as it happened. And they're like, this thing happened. Here's the news. Go on about your day. Whereas now when these things happen, there's a rabbit hole. There's a snake trail. Oh, yeah. You know what I mean? There's this very readily available and presentable connection between these things.
Even recently, where the guy went in New Zealand, when he went in the mosque and fucking shot all those people. I saw the video of that. He live streamed him
himself.
He live streamed himself going into that mosque and shooting all those people, and he had like different slogans and sayings on his guns, so he pointed it up and so you could see it, and then he went in there and did what he did, and he put his manifesto online, which to me, a manifesto now is a bunch of reasons why fucked up people do fucked up shit.
Yeah.
And that's basically what it was. He was an Australian guy living in New Zealand who was mad about Muslims living in New Zealand.
Do you think he was an incel?
And
Has there been anything about that guy maybe being an incel?
No, but I wouldn't be surprised.
Fuck no, I wouldn't.
He was mad about Muslims being in New Zealand because he said that they're immigrating into New Zealand and taking over shit and tearing up shit.
Yeah.
And I'm like, well, you're an Australian living in New Zealand. You're not a New Zealander living in New Zealand. But yeah.
But they look alike.
Yeah. It's
and
crazy.
who the fuck can really tell the difference between those accents, right? Okay. I don't even remember what I was saying before that. But that's not a new phenomenon for this podcast.
It's not. It's
Do
not.
you remember what I was talking about?
It's not.
God damn it, Adam. What are you doing here? You're new here and you don't... Oh, Jesus.
Yeah, we meant to say that. No, yeah, we lose track a lot because...
Man, the reason you're here, actually, I don't mean to, spoil it for you, is to remember stuff.
We honestly we get off track because there's
Eventually,
a lot
we
of
need an
shit
AI.
that happens and it all intertwines into each other, and we can all go down different paths of why people did these things and why these things happen, why they happened in the past and why they still happen.
I remember what my point was.
Okay.
The point was we experienced all these things through the 90s and the early 2000s up until September 11th. And so events like this, whether they were abroad or domestic or whatever, were very isolated events, right?
Yeah.
It wasn't until the media figured out a way post 9/11 to where, like, every time you hear about something like this, it's actually totally connected. It's actually part of the whole thing. These aren't random acts of like horrible things that you go, oh man, that's fucked up. But if it doesn't affect you, you go on about your life being a productive member of society who doesn't hate their next door neighbor.
Yeah.
The media was like, after September 11th, they were like, look, every time some shit like this happens, it's somebody's fault.
Yeah.
It's dudes that don't get laid's fault. It's black people's fault. It's white people's fault. It's Islam. It's people
immigrants is really hot right now.
Muslims. Like, that's so weird. Like, listen, I'm not denying that radical Islam exists, but I'm saying for like the entire existence of the Western world, there has also been Muslims.
Yeah.
They're just like people. Yeah. You know how like Jewish people are people, and like where I'm from in Chicago, there's like a lot of like Hasidic Jewish people. I can like
I remember you saying that, like a lot of people from what is it, the concentration camps? Then they come to Chicago.
Where Skokie, Illinois is, which is the suburb north of or west of where I grew up, is there's more Holocaust survivors in Skokie, Illinois per capita than Israel.
That's what I meant to say, Holocaust.
And that's and actually, as a matter of fact, that's that whole other podcast we could do. But in the Ku Klux Klan marched in Skokie once, and they made a movie about it. And actually, the ACLU defended the Klan's right to march there because of freedom of speech. Yeah, and that's something where. I don't know. That's a whole different rabbit hole.
That whole fucking thing right there. Yeah.
But yeah,
I mean, you got the freedom of speech, but at the same time, come on.
Fuck, you derailed me on the freedom of speech thing. Where was I before that? Where was I before the freedom of speech thing?
What are you talking about in what is it? Consuming information from the news, and then
So then they decided to tell us that everything was connected and everything was an attack. Everything's an attack on who you are and what you have going on. Like it's all a fundamental attack. Instead of being like, oh, this fucking asshole mailed some people some bombs. Yeah, this is some important news.
But this is
you need to know about it. But also go about your fucking day. Instead of every time something happens, they're like, this is connected to this.
No.
And they draw the wrong connections anyway, because it's all connected to really the one same thing, But like, it's like, they go, this is connected to this, this is connected to this. And this is a continuous reason to be afraid and keep tuning in.
Oh, no. But a lot of this happened back when guys like Eric Rudolph and... All right. But I got a lot of guys like
That's what
Eric
happens
Rudolph
around
and McVeigh and all those guys. They started back in the 90s where it's not connected. You guys are just being assholes because
Right.
you don't like gay people. You don't like abortion. So you think that you have the right to go bomb people, innocent people. The doctors who do abortions, because you don't agree with them, doesn't make them evil. They're just doing their job.
Exactly.
I don't give a fuck whether you think that abortions should be legal or legalized or illegal or should they happen or not, whether it's murder or whether it's just a medical practice. If you don't agree with it, ignore it. Leave those people alone.
Vote.
Yeah, or vote
This
to
is
get
America.
it. Legalize. Make it so
Convince
that
me, bitch. Don't blow somebody up.
Yeah.
You know what I mean?
Because if you go there and look, this army of God, they had people that literally went in and hid in the woods outside of a doctor's house. And it was one guy, one rifle. He waited. He shot the fucking doctor, killed him. And they praised him for that. Jesus. And I'm like, okay, so the abortions are still happening. They're happening even more now because
it's fucking horseshit. It's fucking bullshit, ceremonial stuff.
I'll step back because it might not be happening more, but it's more accepted and it's legalized more than it was back then. And I think that because that's the reaction of these acts, because they are doing things that are
the
fucked
opposite
up.
Effect.
And like if you have a disagreement with somebody, don't fucking kill them, don't snipe them, don't blow them up.
No, you've only solidified their opinion.
Yeah, right.
Especially when you live somewhere like this. I mean, and we talked about this when you
weird.
When you did the episode about the Unabomber.
Yeah.
The thing I didn't know was that the government cooked that man's brain with
acid.
Yeah.
Ted Kaczynski he probably will be the season finale of season 3 because
he deserves another go over.
Yeah, definitely. The government was solely responsible for cooking the shit out of his brain, gave him psychedelics, and then held him there and then made him explain why he was so fucked up. And then before then, they had everybody that was part of that study. They had them write down something that was secretive and that something that they kept to themselves, and then they were grilled about that afterwards. So what do you think was going to happen?
Did you think
that they were just going to walk out of the fucking laboratory like, well, okay, back to my normal life? Like, no.
16-year-old that went to Harvard.
Yeah.
He had that kind of mind, that kind of trajectory. And then they were like, here's, I don't know, fucking solo cups full of acid. Who knows how to dose somebody with this
It doesn't matter how smart you are. You're still a 16-year-old.
Your brain. That the government, Adam, you know that about Ted
crazy
Kaczynski?
fucking story.
I learned that from doing Tony's podcast.
The government.
No, it fucking adds up for sure.
Yeah.
Yeah, of course.
Oh, yeah. No, the government, they fucking took Ted Kaczynski and like a group of other people, and they gave him psychedelics, and they made him go through all these tests and
like
it's fucking
super high doses.
Yeah,
they would do shit like where they would, like it put them in a situation where they were comfortable, and then let them like be enjoying the experience, and then like radically adjust their perception of reality with like flashing lights.
Yeah,
people coming in and yelling. And like, telling them this will be forever if you don't tell me what I want to know. It was all about studying the effects of LSD. Like if you gave it to like, a pilot who crashed in your territory, and like what could you do to him to get the information you want, or what could be done to these guys?
Yeah.
Fucking crazy
wild
shit.
It does go what I did see. Eric Rudolph did serve in the U.S. Army. He was discharged for smoking weed. There's another connection.
You can tell
that's another
means
fucking
that you're
connection.
A real
bro.
degenerate.
Oh yeah. Because there's still people to this day that think that weed is like, if you smoke weed, you are Satan himself, and that you're just gonna fucking
especially
do
if you're
all
in
the
the
shit.
military. Why would you need to relax?
Why would you
from
need
stress?
to do that? Right. It's crazy. The thing that I got out of this is Eric Rudolph did the Olympic bombing. He is a horrible person.
We haven't even gotten into that at all.
Terrible person.
Fuck.
Yeah. No, because we know that the Olympic bombing happened. His motivation behind it was essentially because of abortions in gay people. He thought that the government was taking over and that they were pushing a homosexual agenda. He thought that abortions were murder. He went to this Christian identity compound at 18. He was part of and still part of the army of God. These guys, a lot of these guys just got fried, and they got exposed to all this crazy shit at a young age. So,
but you are right though. This definitely feeds into what you were saying earlier, where you're like, if there'd have been the internet, maybe these guys would have been able to, get their jollies by putting the N-word on Twitter.
Yeah.
Instead, nobody's paying attention. There's no information. They gotta be boxed.
Because
in.
I'm telling you, both of you, listen. How many times
is just the N-word on Twitter?
When's the last time have you seen?
It is true.
When's the last time you seen somebody get bombed because they were gay? Though. There was the shooting in Orlando where that guy who was clearly a closet. Yeah, he was clearly a closet homosexual. Went into the club and shot other homosexuals because it was a gay club.
Yeah,
but
we got that fucking radical Islam nonsense narrative out of that, and I'm like, no. That dude was definitely that dude was a gay dude who had some kind of like ideological back loop in his head, but he was just he was a gay incel essentially.
Yeah, that's what it was.
And then he used that fucking
that was the whole thing where it's just a fucking radical way of when guys used to make fun of girls that they liked in school because we couldn't understand that. Listen, this is just normal, and that shit's one of those things.
And that's some weird shit.
That's what it was, though. And it goes back to that video that we watched last week about the incels and shit and all that. And it's just, it's a way for them. Twitter and the internet is a way for all these people to violently talk about things on the internet without violently killing people. It still happens. It's still wrong regardless. Right. Even talking about it is wrong. A lot of these people are very what is it? What am I trying to say? They're
simple?
No. They go along with the idea of rape is good and that women are born to serve men and that they owe us pussy, and that's not true.
Retarded, are you?
Yeah. It's not true.
Right.
So.
I bet R. Kelly would disagree with you.
Y'all quit playing. Quit playing.
Fucking R. Kelly, man. R. Kelly is a different story, man. That motherfucker is out of there, man.
This is on my sound. This is an important sound.
Yeah. Let's hear it.
Wait. Hold on. Wait.
What do you say? Y'all quit playing. Quit playing.
It's unbelievable the amount of effort that goes into getting your point across by killing people just so that you go to ADX Colorado serving life without parole, and the things that you fought so hard against are still happening. There's still gay people in America. There's still abortions going on. So it doesn't matter how many doctors you killed that do abortions. How many?
This is not me.
Sorry.
No, remember last week we talked about it? It recorded that whole thing, so it's long as shit. Yeah.
There's like a big gap there, and he just starts.
For my life.
Right, yeah.
Fuck, that was weird.
No, but the things that you fought so hard against, they're still going on, because when it comes down to it, people have the right to be gay, and women have the right to govern their own bodies. And if they want to have an abortion, no matter how much you are against it, they have the right to do it. So it's going to fucking happen. There ain't no bomb that can stop that. There ain't no shooting that can stop that. Nope. There's nothing that's going to stop dudes from sucking other dudes' dicks. Yeah. Nothing's going to stop that. So why are you so mad about that? You're in jail, life without parole over something stupid
in a fucking box.
In a box, like the only people
they literally put you in a fucking
that's what I'm
box.
saying.
Like
and,
about AdMax in Colorado.
Yeah,
this is
crazy.
Tony's whole season of this podcast is about. Sorry, we're talking to Adam. So Tony's whole season of this podcast is about the inmates who are locked up in this prison in Colorado, which is a 23-hour-a-day lockup in a very small. Larry Hoover's in there, but all the leaders of the super gangs of Chicago, they're still alive.
That's gonna be a good episode too.
Most of the people who orchestrated 9/11 are in there. It's a very interesting situation in there. So Tony's whole season. This is why we're talking about the Atlanta bomber. But it does seem to be a continuous thread, and we talked about this when you explained to me about Ted Kaczynski. And how it was like the government took him and they cooked his brain with acid, right?
Yeah.
But also what they did was like unleashed this brilliant mind that was like, oh, technology is going to be how these people eventually control us, right? And I mean, and listen, everything Ted Kaczynski had to say about technology and the future, like outside of the anti-Semitic nonsense that didn't really fit in, like the stuff he said about the nuts and bolts and the ones and zeros of how technology would affect our future, he was absolutely correct. What he was
out of all the manifestos, his besides what you said, and that shit was spot on.
That's a very realistic characteristic of manifestos in general. If you've ever read the Communist Manifesto, it's like, wow, these are pretty good points about how people who work really hard get fucked over. The answer to that isn't to just fucking hand everything over to one guy, but the points were valid, and that was the deal with Kaczynski. His points were valid, right? And that's what contrasts with this asshole in Atlanta, because his points were shit.
His points were absolute shit.
Kaczynski was on to something. And it's surprising to me that he had that much acid and didn't also see that like bombing 3 or 4 people in the government would somehow like it's just too little. It's not like he was right. Your delivery system was very silly though, right? Like you
the foundation is always fucked up, and I don't like terrorism. I don't agree with even the Muslim terrorism.
See, that's definitely the difference here between like this guy and Kaczynski as far as domestic terrorists are concerned. This guy, excuse me, just believed in silly hillbilly shit.
You know? But a lot of domestic terrorism, the people who participate in that, they do believe in absolute bullshit,
of course,
and that's contrast to even Muslim terrorism.
The
they believe in bullshit too. But when you have people that are Muslim and they turn to terrorism, it's a lot of times it's because y'all motherfuckers came to my country and you killed my people. Literally killed my people. So yes, I'm going to strap this bomb to my vest and I'm going to run into this nightclub and I'm going to make a point that, look, you killed my family, which was innocent, and I was once innocent. And now I'm going to get you back.
Of course.
Whereas domestic terrorism, a lot of these guys were like, those guys are doing shit that I don't believe in, so I'm going to go kill them. I'm a white man in America, but I'm mad. So
hey, calm down, man. No, but I get what you're saying though. Like the odds, like what, what creates a domestic terrorist is pretty fucking silly.
It is, right?
And it's funny too that we look at a domestic terrorist as somehow being like less, like like more sympathetic than like a guy where like you're like, oh well, I didn't really have a problem with America. They like came over here and killed the guy that killed my neighbor, and that was cool. But then they kicked in my door and put a gun in my mouth, and then they were like, "This is our house," and put a bunch of computers in it. And then I lived on the street in a place where I
so of course, it makes sense that you want to fucking get them back. But
it's at least understandable that you want to get them back. But yeah, if you're a dude who's like, these girls won't suck my dick, I'm gonna buzz somebody up,
and that's what it is. These girls won't fuck me. Those guys over there fucking each other. These girls over here don't want a baby, so they have an abortion.
They want.
I gotta go get them. No, you don't have to go get them. No, you don't. Leave them alone.
Dudes, though, I think a lot of times they want to bang those.
No,
dudes,
they do. Yeah, they do. Yeah, a lot of incels are like, they just.
What do you say?
I don't know, something about being gay.
Yeah, it is. So. Yeah. Where are we at right now as far as time?
A lot.
Is it really?
No, I'm just kidding. 32 minutes.
32. Yeah, let's wrap it up now. I gotta wrap it up. No. The last two podcasts were long as shit. So I only get so much memory a month. So I gotta fucking
but is this anything? Is there anything here we forgot though? Because it was a little
I don't think we
unfair
forgot. Let me
this
go
week,
down the
'cause
list.
it's been very festive.
Let me go down the list. Eric Rudolph
I'll
serving
shut up.
life without parole, Olympic bomber, various bombings of abortion clinics, anti-gay, active between 96 and 98, served in the U.S. Army, discharged for weed, spent time at a Christian Identity compound at 18. Christian Identity is a racist and anti-Semitic organization, member of the Army of God, and Christian terror. The Army of God is a Christian terror organization active in America since.
Yeah, well, that's just like your opinion, man.
Yeah, but that's it. That's basically it. And that anytime that we have a domestic terrorist, that's basically it. They're just
that guy
mad
was
about some shit.
And that was
was
it's
it.
really frustrating because it's definitely some asshole who has enough food.
Yeah,
has the
yeah,
internet.
yeah,
You know,
yeah.
You
Any domestic terrorist.
I
Yeah.
guarantee you, at some point, you could have just hung out, whacked off the internet porn, ate chicken tenders.
Right.
Get the fuck out of here.
Right.
You don't think one of those freedom fighters somewhere in the Middle East who lost his whole family wouldn't have been like, oh, no, actually, I would have loved to sit on the couch and eat chicken tenders.
Exactly. Like,
Right?
why are you mad? Because you don't live my life. My life is clearly harder than yours, but you're mad? Okay, cool. All right.
Fuck
All
those
right,
guys.
Yeah. So another great episode of Pod Caviar. This has been a trip down a rabbit hole, and we talked about a lot of things. And I'm glad that I have the platform to talk about these things freely as an American with the freedom of speech. And we're going down and we're having good discussions about this shit.
We doubled down on the First Amendment on your podcast.
Oh, fuck yeah. And I love it. Yeah. I abuse the shit out of that First Amendment because
we doubled down.
Why else would it be there?
We're on the
No, they enacted the First Amendment because one day there's going to be a guy with a podcast and he's going to want to say a lot of things. This is for him.
This is where it starts.
So, yeah. Make sure to check out Short Caviar. Oh, God. Yeah. It's not going to be a podcast about prison if we don't have the fucking
grease guy.
The grease guy.
Give him the grease.
Give him the grease. Yep. Yeah.
You know
Hold on. What's
That's
that?
old penitentiary trick.
Here it is. Yeah. There it is. Hey, make sure to check out Shirt Caviar that has nothing to do with prison or greasing yourself up. There's a great selection. I'm wearing a St. Patrick's Day version. It is amazing. I have a women's boutique that it gets updated weekly, so check it out. If you're a woman, if you know women, whether they want to fuck you or not, tell them about Shirt Caviar. It is amazing. Check out the 1 Gram Army. If you are listening to this and you are local, check out go to Friends on the Hill. Adam works there. He is the best bartender. Literally, when I said he was the best bartender, I'm not just gassing him up. He is the best bartender. I used to walk into Friends on the Hill and he used to know exactly what I wanted, a picture of Yingling, and that's it. So check out, subscribe to Pod Caviar, subscribe to 1 Gram Army. I am Tony. That is Graham with Adam in the building, and we are out.